Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and a brave roar from Hobbyland, Japan fired a Samba King into my apartment. Kyoryu Red got his SH Figuarts treatment some months ago, and I want to know if he can move it and shake it with his crimson spandex contemporaries. The Kyoryu suit has got some torso divisions that lend themselves really well to the Figuarts aesthetic. The sculpt does a good job of representing all of it, though some liberties are taken to make things look a lot more layered than they are in real life. The shoulders look more like the edges of a vest-like tunic, and the band across the chest looks like straight-up armor rather than embroidery. And, like, everything but the T-Rex tampograph is sculpted in. Even the scaling on the sleeves is cut into the plastic. It's a nice look, especially with all the clean paintwork accentuating every texture. Red's Judenshi dispensing belt buckle is of particular quality, with clean sculpt and a ton of tight paintwork. His helmet also looks quite accurate, featuring the same etched-in line work that his chest band has. Samba kick! Kick! You see he's got those Figuarts kind of hips, what with the thigh swivel I often forget to bring up. Also, he's got double-jointed knees like you expect on the Figuarts. He's got your expectable Figuarts ankle range, and the toe! His belt has this little swivelly thing, and it does not really lock into position anywhere, so it's super easy to just be going like pose, pose, up. Well, pose, 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 up. Oh no, I'm just gonna move his arm over to up. So, be ready for that. His torso posability is otherwise pretty good. It helps that his armor design has this lip, at least on one side, because there's two things. Number one, it covers the joint pretty well, and number two, the lip over here somehow is far less noticeable, because it kind of blends in with the aesthetic. His neck is all kinds of Figuarts happiness. I haven't really seen any kind of inability in here, just ability. His wrists are terrifying for other reasons, but posably decent. Double-jointed elbows are bounds in these arms, as well as the other arm that comes in the box, which is pretty much functionally identical to all this stuff, more or less. The shoulder designs, certainly not as good as the Red Wind Hurricaneger, but it's functional. It's definitely one of those shoulder covers that's a lot more like a lot of the rest of them, where it can get into broken positions or it can get into weird-looking positions, and it sort of plays with you, but not entirely. And then over here, this is a weird setup. There's a shoulder cover in here that's black, and then the armor's on this hinge, and the hinge is way over here right by his neck, which means that it is nearly impossible outside of, like, this to actually get use out of the hinge. And, I don't know, it just sort of bangs into the side of his head, and I'm pretty sure that would hurt, or at least be quite irritating. And having messed with stuff like, you know, easy example, Renewal Black, when I see, like, these kind of shoulder hinge designs, well, shoulder pad hinge designs, sorry, on Figuarts, I just kind of think to myself, you guys know how to do these better, and I don't know, given how the armor rides all the way up to this side, I feel like if an asymmetrical torso, which this is, could have been done, perhaps an asymmetrical shoulder design of a sleeve over here and a more maybe Kamen Rider style shoulder over here would have been for the better, because it just feels, it doesn't like look bad really, but when you start messing with him, it feels like there's potentially some misaimed engineering going on over here. And as for the scary part, I just gotta say, swapping this guy's hands, pretty terrifying. Now on mine, it's still pretty tight, but I've sanded down this ball. I have some 400 grain sandpaper, and I've just been working on this ball, trying to get it so that it's easier to work with than it is out of the box. And I am doing that because there have been more than one report. There have been more than one of this thing snapping off here, right here at the connection point on the hinge. Let's get a close-up of that, maybe turn one of the lights away. Oh, that just made it go out of focus. I'm helping! This point here, you can see how there's a small lip there, right there, because this thing is only connected to one half of this ball shape. Right there, at that really thin spot. A lot of people have had this tiny little ball snap right off inside one of these hands. And I'm trying to treat it as carefully as I can, but it's like, it's as tight as the Kamen Rider double Figuarts wrists in terms of popping on and off. I don't know what they did with this design that made them so scary, But I highly recommend getting some sandpaper and sanding down the... Oh man, it's still pretty... It's pretty scary. Sanding down these hands, or at the very least, if you are going to pull them off and tilt them as you pull them off, tilt them along with the direction of this swivel. So, you know, it might move with you as you're trying to pull it off, but at least you're not pulling it against, you know, causing a huge tension, pulling it against the plastic and potentially exacerbating this problem. Be careful with Kyoryu Red, because there have been just enough reports for me to feel like this is a thing to be aware of, especially given how, on mine, who hasn't had that happen yet, it still feels real scary to swap his hands. So look out. The root of most Figuarts accessory count is a pair of fists, and the king is no different. His other main pair of solo hands are curled and ready for signature poses, or clawing out the eyes of fools. Kyoryu Red has 2 more pairs of hands, both grippy, one for shafts and the other for triggers. In terms of shafts, his is the grip of the Gaburi caliber. This finely sculpted blade has some sharp paint apps, but is otherwise completely static. This will be an important piece of info soon. As for triggers to pull, the king's is in his Gabu revolver. Again, the sculpt and paintwork of this sidearm slash morpher is spot on, and also, again, it's completely static. Nothing moves on this piece. Why is it so worth noting that these weapons are immobile? Well, Kyoryu Red comes with a teeny, tiny Judenshi, and it has literally nowhere to go. You can kinda get him to hold it, but the grip is tenuous, and when this little thing falls, it is Lego hard to find again. It certainly looks nice considering the number of paint apps it has for its micronic size, but all it really does is frustrate on its own, and remind you that neither weapon nor the belt buckle can actually do anything other than look pretty, which is totally all they need to do when there isn't a lost little battery with no place to go. Kyoryu Red can also get his armed on by swapping his right arm at the bicep. This isn't necessarily easy to do, but it is fairly unscary, as there are clear surfaces to grip before you tug. While you can stick any hand on the end of the armored arm, the primary thing to attach to the wrist joint is the Gabutira Fang. This thing not only looks spot on and up to par, but it also opens and closes, which means you can use it as a hand puppet for any other SH Figuarts characters in your collection, as evidenced incredibly quickly by Gigabeetle over on Twitter. Kyoryu Red came out in a way that could have gone a little wrong, as his home TV series was still on the air, and the figure could have been at risk of feeling rushed. But honestly, aside from some liberties with the suit sculpt, which actually enhance its look in my opinion, there are only 2 major faults. There's this weird, unfinished Judenshi gimmick that manifests at its worst in the form of a tiny plastic battery that most sane people will never take out of the box. Second, there is a legitimate tolerance issue with the wrist joints. The grippiness of the ball sockets is scarily tight, and there is more than one report of breakage, so please take care with your own copy of this guy. If you're able to sand down the wrist balls, then by all means consider picking up Kyoryu Red. He's not the best of the Red Ranger Figuarts out there, but he's definitely leaning more towards the glass half full side of the equation. If you don't want to modify those balls at all, then I hope you really like fists. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and it sounds like every other Kyoryuger in SH Figuarts is coming out as a web exclusive. Now, I don't think those are nearly as insane to get a hold of as they were back in the late aughts, but your mileage may vary. All you really need is to be brave.